There's a great story about a group of passengers on an airplane getting ready to take off when they notice the pilot and the co-pilot heading across the tarmac towards the plane. Now they both have dark sunglasses on. The pilot is being led by a seeing eye dog, and the co-pilot is tapping his way with a white cane. People kind of chuckle as they enter the plane that way and head into the cockpit. So now, the announcements are over and they're starting to head down the runway, and they get to the speed they need to rise, but they don't lift off. And then they still don't lift off. And people start to get nervous because there's this huge lake at the end of the runway. And then now they're getting so close, people realize they're about to crash into the lake, and they all start screaming. And as they scream, at the very last second possible, the plane takes off and barely misses crashing into the lake. Now, up in the cockpit, the pilot says to the co-pilot, both still with faces forward and dark sunglasses on, "You know, one day they're not going to scream and we're all going to die." The question is, who is flying your airplane? Whether we realize it or not, we are on a journey. And someone is flying our airplane. Hopefully, we have our hands on the steering wheel, the controls, and we also keep them loose enough so that, as the old bumper sticker puts it, God is our co-pilot, that we've intentionally invited God to be with us and help steer us on our journey through life. Now, we've got to do our part. God won't take the controls away from us, but we actively invite God to help us steer the plane, to help us guide us on the journey. Because if we don't, there are all kinds of forces, all kinds of people happy to take control of that guidance system and lead us the direction that they want us to go. And I worry that we might not realize the direction we are heading, and that we or our loved ones might not scream until it's too late. Because, if we don't have our hands firmly on the controls and are not steering with God's help to guide us, I assure you, without our realizing it, someone else will take control and lead us where they want us to go. So, what direction is your plane heading? Now, here are just two of the directions we could be headed in that aren't really going to get us ultimately to where we want to go. First, at this time of year, there are many voices anxious to steer us in this direction, the direction of more is better. More is better. It's how to have a happy Christmas. Buy more. It's good for the economy. It's the way to be happy. Drink more. It's how you'll get by. It's the holidays after all. Do more. You're missing out if you're not so busy that you're frazzled. More is better. And without even realizing it, our plane has started turning directions, and we've kind of handed control to those forces that are now steering our lives. There are others anxious to take over the controls in this way. These are the voices that want to divide us, that scream so loudly, be mad, be angry. Don't you see what's wrong with her or them, or what those people are doing to our church, our government, our schools, our families. It's time to show your outrage. Show how mad you are. Yell at your family, at your co-workers, your teachers, your friends. And anger steers us in ways that deep down we don't really want to go. Or what? Who or what forces are either starting to take control over the direction of your plane, or at least fighting to grab controls from us? It's true that what we do not decide will usually be decided for us. And as our Advent scriptures remind us in a different way for each of the 4 Sundays of Advent, it takes a certain level of alertness and intentionality on our part to make sure that we're not letting some energy or some force or group steer our airplane in a direction that's not ultimately good for us or for the world. And today, there is another voice. It is the voice of the prophet, John the Baptist. It almost sounds like John the Baptist is screaming at us, but it's just that urgent to him. You're going to crash. He says, go this way. Prepare the way of the Lord. Steer your plane on his path. That's the way. That's the journey. John felt the prompting and the push of the Holy Spirit to do whatever he could to wake us up as we start to doze at the wheel, so to speak, not even noticing the direction that we're heading. And sadly, sometimes it is life that gives us the wake-up calls that no one wants. Sometimes life becomes the cry of the Baptist to get us to wake up. I think of some of the awful funerals I have had. I still have images I can't get out of my head from funerals over the years of parents carrying their kids' tiny caskets for burial. Or the sad funerals we've had just this past year, or whatever the heartbreaking or shocking wake-up call that life throws at us. John the Baptist doesn't want us to wait for that to happen, so he yells at us, look where you are heading. Wake up, turn your plane this way. My friends, John the Baptist has the point that we need to hear. I think of the people on that airplane and the response of the pilot. One day they're not going to scream and we're all going to die. Well, we are. So, who is piloting your airplane these days? Which direction is your plane heading?